Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we're just about a week into the release of Scholomance Academy, and I'm always get this question: what should I craft? What's safe to craft, etc., etc. And normally I say wait, it takes a little bit for the meta to develop, but there's 10 cards right now that I feel are so powerful that it's pretty damn safe to craft it. And there's a really good chance you'll end up getting your dust back because these might end up getting nerfed, especially quite a few of these. So I think I could safely at least give you a good advice, a good tip on what you should craft. But again, if you're still feeling a little bit apprehensive, you can always wait a bit. But I think we're getting to that point where, man, these cards are so powerful that I just can't see them not seeing play. And I'll give my impressions on these in both Standard and Wild to give you an idea of, like, is this card good in Standard and Wild, or one or the other, or etc. So I'll highlight in each card which format they really stand out in, whether it be both or one or the other. So let's get going with 10 cards I feel are absolute must-crafts at the moment. And before I start going into 10 through 1, I also want to point out I'm only going to be recommending epics and legendaries because, well, rares and commons are a lot easier to come by, and I think your dusts, you're probably more concerned about, you know, crafting an epic or a legendary, not necessarily a rare common. So these will only be epics and legendaries. So let's get started with number 10, Flesh Giant. This is the epic dual class card for Warlock and Priest, and basically costs one less for every time your health changes on your turn. And this card is performing very well in both Standard and Wild at the moment. In Standard, you kind of have that hate lock, or like where you self-damage yourself, or just in Zoo where you're tapping and doing all that stuff. It just gets to be relatively cheap pretty quick. And as well in Wild, you have Even Lock, which is turned into a really good deck. It's insanely good there. And it's also aggressive self-damaging Warlocks there. There's a ton of synergy with that in Wild. There's a lot more self-damaging cards. So even in an aggressive deck. So Flesh Giant, insanely good in Warlock in both Standard and Wild. And I feel it's very safe to craft. Although probably not one that'll get nerfed. I don't think so. And in terms of Priest, I don't think I've ever seen a Priest play it. But, you know, at least if you're a Warlock player, you can really take advantage of it. Number 9, we have Mazaki Master Duelist, the Mage Legendary that gains +1 spell damage for every spell that has been played. And it keeps stacking. And it's been really popular in Standard in both a Tempo Mage list and a Freeze Mage list. Both of which I've played, and both of which I've somewhat enjoyed. I think the Tempo Mage list is a lot better, but the Freeze Mage list is really good at targeting things like Druid and any slow deck, even like Libram Paladin. They can't do much if you just freeze their board all the time and then you kill them. Mazaki has performed well in multiple archetypes in Standard. In Wild, I've seen some experimentation with it, with people doing like a burn list, but honestly, you're just better off playing Quest Mage. So if you're wanting to craft Mazaki, it's mostly for Standard. And it does some good work, but it's not like one of the most powerful legendaries of the set. It's just doing some really solid work in Tempo and Freeze Mage. And if that sounds like something for you, definitely consider it. And those decks are doing pretty well. Number 8, we have Argent Barrage. This is epic for Paladin. And it's a 2-mana 1/1, but it gains health and attack equal to the highest minions on board. So basically, it will match the top health, the top attack of any of the top minions on the board, and you kind of get that big equalizer, and then you can like do trading or just put Librams on it, give it whatever. Like, it's just insanely powerful. Libram Paladin in Standard is one of the best decks, if not the best deck right now, and this card is a really big part of that. You will not regret it crafting it for Standard. In Wild, I haven't seen a lot of Libram Paladin at high ranks, but I've heard it does do pretty well there, and I think this card would fit in very well there as well. But definitely a really good Standard craft for sure. At number 7, we have Goalkeeper Polklet. Is it Polklet or Polklet? I'm not sure. Someone tell me in the comments how to say that, because I never get it right. It's the 4-mana 4/5 neutral legendary that reshuffles your deck, shuffling it from most expensive to cheapest. And this card has enabled a lot of stuff already. We already mentioned the Freeze Mage deck. It's done well. There's like this Shudderwalk Mage deck, basically a Battlecry Mage deck, that utilizes this. You can play this in, like, I've seen it in Reno Hunter, where people just want to draw all their bombs as well. Yeah, seen a lot of play in Standard, and in Wild, it's even crazier, especially like in Reno Priest. You just guarantee you draw Anduin, and then you get Psychic Scream, and then you get Reno, and then Raza. It's absolutely insane. And there's other decks you can also work with it. But yeah, in Standard Wild, this card just lets you do so many crazy good things, and it just feels good to play, and really cool way to build your deck around. Very powerful. Don't think it'll get nerfed or anything like that, but you can utilize this very well in both Standard and Wild. Very good craft. Number 6, in the same vein, we have the neutral weapon, Sphere of Sapience. And yeah, basically, you equip it, it's 1 mana, and you get to choose, you see what card you're going to draw, and you get to choose to draw it or not. You either put the bottom of your deck, or you draw a new card. And if you draw a new card, you lose a durability. This card's super awesome in, like I mentioned, the Freeze Mage. You can put it any combo heavy deck. Any like deck where you have a lot of draw and you want to just get tutor out of cards. So I've even seen it like Combo Druid. I've seen it Reno Priest in Standard. Sorry, Highlander Priest. I've seen multiple decks in Standard and in Wild. I'm loving it in Reno Lock. It's great in Reno Priest. And you can put it in, again, in any draw heavy deck. I haven't tried it in Dead Man's Hand. It might be good there. I'm not even sure. Like, there's just so much potential with it, and it's already performing extremely well. And it's very flexible, and it just feels good to be able to manipulate your draws. And even if people are running Weapon Hate, I haven't found it to be that big a deal. So, absolutely good craft. If you're into, like, those drawing combo decks, control decks, fits in like a glove with those. Really, really good card. Number 5... Ugh. Sorry, I hate this card, but I can't help but recommend crafting it. And that's Mindrender Ellucia, the new Priest Legendary. It's a 2-mana 1/3, and you get to basically swap hands with your opponent, you swap decks with your opponent. For a turn, you get to play their cards, you get to maybe draw the cards out of their deck, whatever. It's an insane disruption card. It can be a tempo killer. You can just build a big board, play Mindrender, and leave them with crap, and they can't answer your stuff. And in Standard, we've seen it quite a bit in like the Dragon Priest, Galakron Priest stuff. It's just a good card to throw in there. But where it really shines is in Wild and Raza Priest, where that deck is like, I'm pretty sure it's tier S. Like, it's ridiculous. And this card's a big reason. Like I predicted, this card shores up like every weakness that Reno Priest had. It beats every combo deck. It enables you to slow down or disrupt even aggro opponents. You can steal their Kingsbane, for example. And yeah, it's insanely powerful, and you can't go wrong crafting this if you're playing any Priest deck, basically, in Standard or Wild. And I really hope it gets nerfed, and if it does, you'll get some dust for it, because I just think it's toxic in design and way too flexible at 2 mana. Ugh. Number 4, I have Devout Pupil. It's the dual class epic for Priest and Paladin. It's Sunwalker, right? This is 6 mana 4/5 Divine Shield Taunt. It's cost 1 less for every spell you've cast on a friendly character. And yeah, it's insane in Libram Paladin. That deck is crazy, and this card's a big reason for it. You draw a 0 mana taunt, you buff it up, and that beats up so many different decks. And I haven't really seen it too much in Priest. Probably in Combo Priest it might be okay, but it's really standing out as Paladin, as we had kind of predicted with the whole Libram package. Just so good. Same in Wild. You definitely throw this into the Wild pure Libram Paladin. Just insanely good. Like, you can craft it safely for that deck. If you really want to play that deck, you want this card. It's super good. And that deck is performing exceptionally well. I played it a little bit, not a ton, and I lost 1 whole game, and I believe it was like in the mirror. So yeah, crazy. Number 3, again on the Libram Paladin train here, we have High Abyss Allura, the dual class Priest and Paladin Legendary. It's a 4 mana 3/6, and it has Spell Burst. You get to play a spell from your deck, and it casts it on this if possible. And yeah, that's insane. Like, I rated this card way too low, because apparently when you play it, you can get Libram of Hope every single time and get an 8/8 with Divine Shield and win the game on the spot on turn 4. Because every time I have played a spell with this card, I have done that. Maybe I'm just that talented, or this card is that busted, because it is that busted. It's really good. Yeah, you can't go wrong with it. Again, I haven't really seen it in Priest. It's, again, really Paladin-centric, as I, again, have predicted it would be. And, yeah, again, in Wild, busted there, too. You have a lot of other spells you can high roll with, too. You can, like, Spikerid Steed and things like that. You can put Dino Size, whatever you want. Card's nuts, and you won't feel bad crafting it if you want to play that deck, of course. And, yeah, I think if Libram Paladin does get dialed back a bit, I think this is a good potential target to take the hit. Number 2, we have Guardian Animals, the Druid Hunter epic. I forgot that Hunters can play this, But yes, it's a 7 mana spell, and you basically pull 2 5 mana or less beasts out of your deck, and they gain rush. And we all know the deal. You'll play this on turn 1 or 2 with Lightning Bloom, and you draw 2 cards, develop a taunt, you can get a cleave, all of that. The Druid deck's very strong. Not the best in the game, not that for sure, but it's an extremely strong deck. And yeah, this card is what makes that deck really work. Outside, of course, the insane ramp, which we talked about in a video before. But this card is super powerful, and yeah, it's a staple in that. In Standard. In Wild, Druid is not really doing this stuff. You're doing Malagos stuff, you're doing Jade stuff, or you're doing, like, really extremely low curve aggro stuff with, like, Lightning Bloom and Gibberings and all of that. So if you're looking for this one in Wild, you're not really crafting it for that purpose. It's more of a Standard card, but it's a very, very high-performing Standard card. And my number 1 must-craft card, and there's no doubt about this. Absolutely no doubt. In Standard, Wild, this card is broken. And it was very obviously going to be broken. And that card is Secret Passage. It's a 1-mana epic rogue spell. You replace your hand with 5 cards from your deck, and then you swap back next turn. Effectively, it's 1 mana draw 5. And you're playing this in all sorts of aggressive decks. In Standard and Wild, mostly weapon-based, and like especially in Wild and Kingsbane, holy crap is this broken. It's good in Odd Rogue, and yeah, in Standard you have all the aggro decks. Even the slower decks run it, because why wouldn't you? There's no downside to this card. It's 1 mana, you get 5 cards, you play them if you want, you don't, you just get your hand back. There's, like, no downside. It's insanely busted, absolute safe craft. I have to imagine this card's gonna get nerfed. It's just too ridiculously good. It's so good that in Wild, it's basically the only aggro deck you ever see now is Rogue. You don't see Pirate Warrior. You don't see even Shaman. You barely see Discard Warlock. They're all gone because everyone's just playing Secret Passage because it's so crazy. And if a card's that crazy that it basically power creeps everything in Wild, you know it's probably a little too strong. So yeah, if you want to play any aggressive Rogue deck, or hell, a slower one that just runs a Secret Passage, go for it. You will not regret it. This card is busted. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are there any crafts that I missed that you think I should have mentioned? Or are some of these, am I overrating or whatever? But again, hopefully if you do craft these cards, you enjoy, you have some success and all of that. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. We already have passed another 500. We're at 6,500. We're closing in on 7,000. You guys are amazing. So thank you so much for that. Have a great day. Stay salty, my friends.